Rachel didn't cry when they shoved her out. She clutched the blanket tighter around Lily, her newborn barely hours old, and stepped into the freezing Ohio rain. No car, no one, just the echo of Cynthia's voice. This family doesn't claim bastards. Her legs trembled from labor, but she kept walking. Inside the hospital window, Derek stood still, stone-faced, silent. He wouldn't even look at her. "You made your choice," he'd said. Rachel looked down at her baby. "You're my choice." Her breath caught. The storm howled, but she didn't scream. 12 hours earlier, Rachel lay in her hospital bed, sweaty and exhausted, staring at Lily's tiny pink face. Her daughter's fingers curled around hers like they'd already met before this world. For a second, nothing else mattered. Then the door opened. Cynthia Mitchell walked in, cold, crisp, assessing. Her eyes moved straight to the baby's skin. Her face froze. Rachel knew that look. It wasn't curiosity. It was judgment, calculation. Rachel turned her face away. Cynthia didn't need to speak. Her silence screamed louder. Rachel had seen this storm before, but she hadn't expected it to return today. An hour later, Cynthia returned with Derek. His knuckles were white, his voice barely controlled. "Who's the father?" Rachel blinked, stunned. "What?" He held out a photo. Logan's arm around her, taken last year, not from college, but from that night at the bridge. "This isn't mine," he snapped. Cynthia stepped forward. "Your lies end now. You won't humiliate this family." Rachel clutched Lily to her chest. "She is yours, Derek." But no one was listening. The baby cried. A nurse at the door froze. Derek stormed out. Rachel's world, shaky, stitched together with fear, finally collapsed. Rachel hadn't chosen Derek. Her family had. Years ago, Logan was her world. Wild, brilliant, unpredictable. He was building something out of nothing, but her parents called him unstable. They owed Derek's family a political favor. And Rachel was the cost. Marry him, or your father's career dies. So she obeyed, left a man who made her feel alive, married a man who made her feel invisible. She'd done everything right, but her heart stayed back at that bridge. And 1 year ago, so had her body, that one night changed everything. Cynthia came back with 2 security officers. "You can leave now," she said, tossing a discharge form onto the bed. "I just gave birth," Rachel whispered. "And now you can take your mistake and go." Derek stood at the doorway, silent. Rachel's pulse raced. No home, no plan, just a baby and shame. The nurse hesitated, handed her a blanket. Rachel signed the form. "You're not even going to ask where I'll go?" she asked. Cynthia turned her back. Rachel stepped out into the storm, shielding her child, and disappeared into the cold. The only place Rachel could afford was a 1-bedroom unit in Over the Rhine. The wallpaper peeled. The heater coughed. The baby's crib sat beside a flickering lamp, but it was theirs. She landed a waitress job at Maple in Maine, a dusty little diner where tips were low, but questions were fewer. Every morning she smiled through fake lashes and burnt coffee. Every night, she sang lullabies to Lily under a leaking ceiling. She didn't tell stories of princes, just survival. She never said Logan's name, but his memory lived in Lily's eyes. 1 month later, Rachel sat by the window, watching Lily sleep in a basket padded with folded towels. She whispered to herself more than the baby. "You weren't supposed to exist," she said softly, "but I'm so glad you do." Her chest tightened. She remembered that night, 1 year ago, when she saw Logan again. It was unplanned. She'd left Derek's fundraiser early, heart pounding, and ended up by the old river bridge. And there he was, like time had waited for them, like the universe gave her one night to remember who she was. They didn't talk much that night. Just eyes, just silence, the kind that knows you better than words. Logan had changed, grown, but the way he looked at her hadn't. She cried in his arms, confessed she felt like a shadow of herself. He didn't ask her to stay. He just held her. One night, that's all it was. And it broke everything. Rachel left before dawn. But 1 month later, She found out she was pregnant. She told no one, not even him, not Derek, not her mother. Downtown Chicago, Logan Bennett sat alone in his penthouse office. Lights low, the city beneath him blurred by fog. In his hand, an old photo, Rachel in a hoodie, laughing at a melted ice cream cone. His heart twisted. He hadn't seen her since that night at the bridge. A year ago, she vanished again. No calls, no letters, just silence. But he couldn't stop thinking about her. Even after growing his tech empire, after the IPO, the interviews, the awards, it all felt empty, and something inside him whispered. She wasn't okay. He'd searched quietly. Discreet contacts, background firms, online threads. Most came up dry. Until one day, a red flag pinged on a small job listing in Cincinnati. Maple and Maine Diner. A woman matching her name, her age, her face. He flew out that night. No suitcase, just a single rose in hand. As he stepped into the greasy little diner, his heart pounded. Rachel stood behind the counter, pouring coffee. And when their eyes locked, she froze. The mug shattered. Her hand trembled. Rachel stared at Logan like she was seeing a ghost. The diner buzz faded. The crash of the broken mug echoed louder than any words. Logan stepped forward, slowly, his rose still damp from the rain. "Still don't like flowers?" he asked gently. She didn't answer. Couldn't. Her voice had locked inside her. She wiped her hands, trembling. "You shouldn't be here," she finally whispered. He looked at her, soft but steady. "I had to know if you were okay." And for a second, just a second, Rachel wished he'd never found her. They met later that night in the alley behind the diner, rain still misting. Rachel wore an oversized coat. Logan stood beneath the single flickering bulb. "Is she mine?" he asked. Rachel looked down, fingers digging into her sleeves. "No," she lied. The word barely made it out. Logan didn't flinch, didn't accuse. He just nodded slowly like he understood. But he didn't. Not really. She turned to leave. He called after her. "If you ever need anything, I'm not hard to find." She didn't turn around, but his voice followed her home. Meanwhile, in Hyde Park, Cynthia sipped her tea as the morning news played in the background. Something about Logan Bennett investing in Midwest startups. Her fingers paused on the cup. "Bennett?" She opened her laptop, searched the name. Her face paled. A photo of Logan standing beside Rachel from a year ago. Her eyes narrowed. She picked up her phone, dialed a private number. "He's back. Handle it." She leaned back slowly. "He's not taking her," she muttered to herself. Not after everything they'd buried. Rachel didn't deserve to rise again, not with a Bennett by her side. The next day, Rachel was fired. No warning, just a silent manager, a typed notice, and a thin envelope with her final check. "Why?" she asked, voice shaking. "You know why," the manager said quietly. She stepped out into the rain, again, this time jobless, still broke, still hiding the truth. Rachel knew Cynthia had something to do with it, and she also knew this wasn't just about reputation. It was about control, about erasing her. Again, she walked home slowly, every puddle echoing Cynthia's voice in her head. "You were always replaceable." Rachel found Cynthia waiting outside her apartment building, arms crossed, face sharp. "Firing me wasn't enough?" Rachel asked. Cynthia smiled thinly. "You should be grateful we're not pursuing custody. If you keep pushing, that could change." Rachel's throat tightened. "You wouldn't. You've already ruined our name. Don't ruin your daughter's life, too." Rachel's knees weakened, but she didn't flinch. "She's not your granddaughter." Cynthia's eyes flickered. Just a second. Then she stepped into her car. "You're not worth the air you waste." As the car disappeared, Rachel collapsed on the stairs and finally sobbed. That evening, Rachel sat silently on her floor, knees to her chest, while Lily napped in the crib. She hadn't eaten. Her body ached. Her mind spiraled. A soft knock echoed at the door. She hesitated, then opened it. "Logan, what happened to you?" he asked, voice gentle. "Life," she said bitterly. He didn't speak. just held out a grocery bag, and she let him in. They sat across from each other. "Why did you leave that night?" he asked. Rachel whispered, "Because if I stayed, I wouldn't have had the strength to go back." Rachel told him everything. The arranged marriage, her father's debt, the fundraiser she ran from, the night on the bridge. And Lily, Logan listened, face unreadable. "She's mine, isn't she?" he asked again. Rachel nodded, tears slipping silently. "I couldn't tell you. I was scared. Derek, his family." Logan leaned forward. "You're not alone anymore." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't accuse her. He just held her hand. And for the first time in months, Rachel exhaled. A long, shaking breath that felt like forgiveness and fear, because everything was about to change. Logan offered to help legally, financially, emotionally. Rachel shook her head. "I can't give you a daughter just to lose her in court." But Logan was already a step ahead. "We'll do a test. Quiet, legal." She stared at him. "And if she's yours, then she's ours." Rachel nodded. For Lily's sake, for her own peace, she agreed. The swab was taken that same night. Quick, sterile, terrifying. Logan left with a sample, promising nothing but hope. Rachel held Lily tighter. The truth had power, but also consequences. The results came back in 3 days. Logan stood outside Rachel's door, envelope in hand. His fingers trembled. She opened the door before he knocked. He said nothing, just handed it to her. She ripped the seal, scanned the paper, and dropped it. Logan caught her as she slid down. "It's you," she whispered. "She's yours." They sat on the floor, stunned, not with fear, but something else, something deeper. "I want to be in her life," Logan said. "In yours." Rachel didn't speak, but her silence wasn't a no. Next morning, Cynthia's doorbell rang at 8 a.m. She opened it to find Logan standing there, calm but sharp-eyed. "Stay away from Rachel," he said. "You don't scare me," she replied. Logan smiled. "You should check today's headlines." He handed her a tablet, an expose article. Political deals force marriage corruption. Proof. Cynthia's face went white. "You did this," she hissed. "I protected the woman I love," he replied, then turned and walked away. Cynthia stood frozen, reputation cracking beneath her heels. For the first time in decades, someone had taken away her control. Rachel's phone buzzed nonstop. Messages, headlines, her name tied to scandal, to a billionaire, to a truth that could no longer be buried. Her father called, voice shaking. "Rachel, I'm sorry." But it was too late for apologies. She'd paid the price for his silence. For years, she hung up quietly. Lily cooed from the crib. Rachel walked over, lifted her into her arms. No matter what the world said, this little girl was the only truth that mattered now. Her past was cracked open, but her future was waiting. That afternoon, Logan returned with a single request. "Move in with me. Let me help." Rachel hesitated. She'd never relied on anyone. Not really. "I don't want to be saved," she said. "I just want peace." Logan smiled. "Then let me stand beside you, not in front of you." She looked at Lily, at the bags of unpaid bills, at the life she was barely keeping together. And she nodded. For the first time, it wasn't surrender. It was strength. She chose this. Not because she had to, but because she could. 1 week later, Cynthia sat in silence as reporters gathered outside. Her husband, furious. Her son, invisible. Rachel's truth had become a tidal wave, crashing through every lie they'd built. Cynthia opened a bottle of wine. Alone, the empire she once controlled had turned to ash. For decades, she dictated people's lives like chess pieces. But this time, her pawn had walked off the board. Rachel hadn't fought her with revenge, but with truth. That's what stung most. Cynthia stared at the window, but this time, no one was watching her. Rachel packed slowly. Her apartment, once a prison, now felt like part of her. Every creak in the floorboard, every chipped mug, had been part of her survival. Logan helped her fold blankets, while Lily giggled in a box. "You sure?" he asked. Rachel nodded. I'm ready. They didn't talk much. They didn't need to. There was something peaceful about closing a chapter that had nearly destroyed her. When the last bag zipped, Rachel took one final look around. She didn't cry. This wasn't goodbye to pain. It was hello to peace. Their new home wasn't a mansion. It was warm, modest, tucked just outside the city. Logan chose it because of the trees, the sunlight, the quiet. Rachel stood in the kitchen, watching him rock Lily to sleep. Something inside her melted. He wasn't the boy she met in college. He was better, softer where it mattered. Rachel set the dishes aside, walked over, and kissed Lily's forehead, then kissed Logan's cheek. No words, just belonging. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but tonight was safe. 2 weeks later, Rachel sat across from a journalist. This time it was her story. Why didn't you leave earlier? The woman asked. Rachel inhaled deeply. Because I thought surviving meant staying silent. I didn't know I was allowed to choose myself. The article would go viral, but Rachel didn't care about fame. Only that somewhere, another woman would read it and stop blaming herself. She stood, thanked the woman, and walked into the light. This wasn't revenge. It was reclamation. Of her voice, her worth, her entire name. Rachel and Logan took Lily to the park. No cameras, no whispers, just swings and sunlight. Rachel sat on a bench, watching her daughter chase butterflies. Logan joined her, slipping his hand into hers. Did you ever think we'd get here? He asked. She smiled. I stopped dreaming a long time ago. They sat in silence, not because they lacked words, but because they didn't need to fill the space. Everything had been said, and everything that mattered was right there. Breathing, laughing, running in baby steps. Rachel visited her old college bridge. Alone, she stood at the spot where she'd met Logan that night a year ago. The wind felt the same, soft, alive. Thank you, she whispered. Not to the wind, not to the past, but to herself, for not giving up, for choosing love. She dropped a single rose into the river. Let the water carry away every guilt, every silence, every scar. She wasn't broken anymore, just healed in places most people would never see. And that was enough. Cynthia's influence faded. Derek moved states. The Mitchell name slowly disappeared from headlines. But Rachel, she rose. Quietly, powerfully. She began speaking at shelters. Her story, once buried, now helped women walk out their own shadows. Logan supported her every step. Lily grew, smiled, thrived. Rachel never asked for applause, only for a life that felt like hers. And that's what she built. No longer silent, no longer small. Her story was no longer about betrayal. It was about becoming, and every chapter from now on was hers to write. 1 year later, Rachel walked hand in hand with Logan and Lily through a trail of cherry blossoms. The air smelled like spring and second chances. A couple passed by, whispered, "That's her. That's the woman from the story." Rachel smiled, didn't flinch. Logan kissed her temple. Lily giggled. And for the first time in her life, Rachel felt completely, undeniably free. Not because the world changed, but because she did. And sometimes love doesn't rescue you. It finds you after you've saved yourself.